Captain Deho stood before the ultimate weapon, feeling the weight of the universe pressing down on his shoulders. Around him, Threnody Station shook under the combined assault of 3 galactic empires. His crew waited for his decision, and somewhere far away, Earth was dying. But in that moment of impossible pressure, Deho realized something that changed everything. "Yunji," he said quietly, "the Veltar made the wrong choice, didn't they?" Her blue eyes met his. "What do you mean?" "They built the ultimate weapon as a test of wisdom, then failed their own test. They chose destruction over trust. They killed themselves rather than risk the weapon being misused." "Yes," she said, "they were afraid. But we don't have to be." Deho turned to face the rest of his crew. "Hana, open a communication channel to all 3 alien fleets. Full broadcast, no encryption. Sir, that will let them hear everything we say." "That's exactly what I want." As the channel opened, Deho walked to the center of the chamber where everyone could see him clearly. Behind him, the world breaker hung in space like a dark moon, its reality-bending hull pulsing with contained power. "Admiral Vorthak, Prime Node 7, War Master Siskith, this is Captain Deho of the human vessel Teguk's Fury. I know you can hear me." The 3 alien leaders appeared on his screen, their faces showing mixtures of anger, fear, and desperate hope. "Human," Vorthak said, "have you finally come to your senses? Will you surrender the weapon?" "No," Deho replied. "I'm going to do something that will prove whether any of us deserve the power we're fighting over." He nodded to Yunji, who placed her hands on the control platform. The world breaker began to move, slowly rotating to face the combined alien fleets. "You see this weapon?" Deho continued. "It can destroy your fleets and everyone in them. It can unravel the forces that hold the universe together. It can give humanity power over every species in the galaxy." "Then why haven't you used it?" Skith demanded. "Because power without wisdom is just destruction waiting to happen. The Veltar learned that lesson too late. But we still have time to learn it right." Deho gestured to Yunji, who began modifying the Worldbreaker systems. Instead of preparing it for attack, she was configuring it for something completely different. "What are you doing?" Prime Node 7 asked, its collective consciousness focused entirely on the human ship. "I'm giving you a choice," Deho said. "The same choice the Veltar had 50,000 years ago. You can continue this war, and I will use the weapon to defend humanity. The universe will suffer, but my people will survive." "And the alternative?" Vorthak asked. "We work together, all of us. Humans, Corvani, Ethereals, and the hegemony. We share the knowledge we've gained here, and we use it to build something better than any of our empires could create alone." The 3 alien leaders stared at him, as if he had lost his mind. "You would trust us with such power?" Skith asked. "I would trust the universe with the truth," Deho replied. The Veltar crystal didn't just contain the location of this weapon. It contained their entire scientific database, their history, their mistakes, and their wisdom. "That knowledge belongs to all of us." Yunji stepped forward, her voice carrying both human determination and Veltar understanding. "I propose that we establish a joint scientific council here at Threnody Station. Representatives from all our species working together to study Veltar technology safely and responsibly." "Impossible," Vorthak said immediately. "Our species have been enemies for centuries." "Then maybe it's time to stop being enemies," Hana said, speaking up from her station. "How many of your people have died in this war already? How many more will die if we keep fighting?" Prime Node 7's crystal form flickered with complex patterns. "The collective calculates a 73.6% probability that such cooperation would fail within 1 standard year. And what's the probability that continued warfare will solve anything?" Jin Wu asked. The alien leaders fell silent, unable to answer that question. On his screen, Deho could see the massive fleets surrounding Threnody Station. Thousands of ships, millions of crew members, all waiting to see what would happen next. "I'm going to show you something," he said. "Yunji, activate the Worldbreaker's defensive systems. But don't target their ships. Target the empty space around them." Yunji's hands moved over the controls, and the universe itself seemed to hold its breath. The Worldbreaker's weapons activated, but instead of destroying, they created. Barriers of pure energy formed around the alien fleets, not to trap them, but to protect them from any possible malfunction of the ancient technology. "Those barriers will protect your ships if something goes wrong with the Veltar systems," Deho explained. "I'm trusting you with the safety of your own people." For the first time since the crisis began, War Master Skith looked uncertain. Why would you protect our fleets while we are attacking you? Because that's what the Veltar should have done 50,000 years ago. Instead of destroying themselves in fear, they should have trusted other species to help them carry the burden of ultimate power. Admiral Vorthak was quiet for a long moment, his biomechanical form processing the implications of the human's gesture. You are either very wise or completely insane. Maybe both, Deho admitted. But I'd rather be insane with hope than sane with despair. Suddenly, Hana called out from her station, Captain, I'm getting a transmission from Admiral Kyung-soo. The alien attacks on our colonies have stopped? Stopped? Deho asked. The fleets attacking Earth and the colonies are withdrawing. They're receiving orders from their commanders here. On the screen, the three alien leaders looked at each other with something approaching respect. Vorthak spoke first. Human Captain, your gesture of protection for our fleets has been noted. I am ordering the withdrawal of Corvani forces from human space. Prime Node 7's pattern shifted to show what might have been approval. The collective concurs. Attacking civilians while their representatives show such restraint would be illogical. Skith roared, but it was a roar of frustration rather than anger. Bah, you make me look like a barbarian in comparison. Very well, human. My warriors will cease their attacks on your colonies. The chamber fell silent except for the humming of alien technology. Around them, 10,000 warships slowly powered down their weapons for the first time in days. So, Vorthak said finally, you propose that we work together to study this ancient technology. I propose more than that, Deho said. I propose that we create a new kind of alliance, not based on conquest or absorption or dominance, but on mutual respect and shared knowledge. And if we refuse? Prime Node 7 asked. Yunji answered, her voice carrying the wisdom of both species she now represented. Then you return to your empires and we return to ours. The Worldbreaker remains here under joint protection, never to be used as a weapon. But the opportunity to grow beyond our current limitations will be lost. And if we accept, Skith asked, then we begin the hard work of learning to trust each other, Deho said. We share knowledge, we solve problems together, and we prove that the galaxy can be more than just a battlefield. The three alien leaders conferred among themselves, their separate communication channels buzzing with activity as they consulted with their home governments and advisors. Finally, Admiral Vorthak spoke for all of them. Captain Deho, the Corvani Empire is willing to attempt this cooperation, but we will be watching for any sign of betrayal. As will the collective, Prime Node 7 added, but our calculations suggest that cooperation offers better long-term outcomes than continued warfare. Skith crossed his massive arms. The hegemony agrees, but only because you have shown courage worthy of respect. Do not make us regret this decision. 6 months later, Threnody Station had become something no one could have imagined. Scientists and engineers from 4 different species worked side by side, studying Veltar technology under careful safeguards. The Worldbreaker remained in the station's heart, no longer a weapon of destruction, but a symbol of what could be achieved through cooperation. Yunji had chosen to remain bonded with the Veltar systems, serving as a bridge between human understanding and cosmic knowledge. She was no longer entirely human, but she was still recognizably the brave engineer who had first touched an alien crystal in a dead ship. Captain Deho stood in the station's observation lounge, watching ships from all 4 species dock peacefully at the same port. Admiral Kyung-soo had arrived the week before to establish Earth's permanent embassy to the Galactic Research Council. Any regrets? Hana asked, joining him at the window. About what? About not using the weapon when we had the chance. We could have made humanity the dominant species in the galaxy. Deho smiled. And then what? Rule over a galaxy full of resentful subjects? Fight constant rebellions? Live in fear that someone else might find an even bigger weapon? I suppose you're right. Jinwoo approached them carrying a tablet full of technical reports. Captain, the joint engineering teams have made a breakthrough. They think they found a way to use Veltar technology to make faster-than-light travel safer and more efficient. Benefits for everyone? Deho asked. Benefits for everyone. No single species gets an advantage over the others. That's how it should be. Yunji stood at the heart of Threnody Station, no longer fully human but not yet completely something else. The blue light under her skin pulsed in rhythm with the Worldbreaker's power core, and when she spoke, her words carried the weight of cosmic understanding. "Captain," she said, turning to Daeho, "I need to show you what this weapon can really do." She touched the control platform, and the chamber filled with holographic images. They showed possible futures, each one more terrible than the last. In some, the Worldbreaker's power turned stars into black holes that devoured entire systems. In others, the basic forces that held matter together simply stopped working, causing planets to dissolve into their component atoms. "This is what happens if we use the weapon to destroy the alien fleets," Yunji explained. "The damage wouldn't stop with them. It would spread like a disease through space-time itself." "How far would it spread?" Daeho asked, though he wasn't sure he wanted to know the answer. The Veltar calculated that using the weapon at full power would destabilize local space-time within a radius of several hundred light-years. Thousands of star systems would be affected, billions of innocent lives would be lost. Jinwoo was studying the tactical displays showing the alien fleets, but if we don't use it, they'll destroy Earth and every human colony in the galaxy. "Maybe," Yunji said, "but there might be another way." She showed them new images, these ones depicting modifications that could be made to the Worldbreaker's systems. Instead of destroying the fundamental forces of the universe, the weapon could be reconfigured to create barriers in space-time itself. "We could create a zone where faster-than-light travel becomes impossible," she explained. "Trap all the warring fleets in this system until they learn to work together instead of fighting." "That includes us," Hana pointed out. "Yes. We would all be prisoners together until we found a way to coexist peacefully." Daeho considered the option. It would save the galaxy from destruction, but it would also mean admitting that none of them were ready for the power they were fighting over. Before he could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the station. Hana rushed to her communication console. "Captain, we're receiving a priority message from Admiral Kyung-soo." The Admiral's face appeared on their screen, but he looked older and more tired than he had just days before. Behind him, the bridge of his flagship was damaged and smoke drifted through the air. "Daeho, our situation is critical," Kyung-soo said without preamble. "The alien forces have attacked every human settlement they could find. We've lost 12 colonies and Earth itself is under siege." The screen showed images of burning cities and ships falling from the sky. Human defenders fought bravely, but they were vastly outnumbered. "Sir, how much time do we have?" Daeho asked. "Hours, maybe less. If you're going to do something with that weapon, it has to be now." The transmission ended and the chamber fell silent except for the humming of alien technology. Outside, the three Empire fleets continued their own siege of Threnody Station, unaware that their forces were systematically destroying human civilization. "They're not going to stop," Jinwoo said quietly. "Even if we give them the weapon, they'll finish what they started." Yunji nodded sadly. "Fear has made them irrational. They see humanity as a threat that must be eliminated completely." "Then we have to use the Worldbreaker," Daeho said. "We have to save our people. But at what cost?" Yunji asked. "Captain, I can use the weapon to destroy the alien fleets, but the damage to the universe would be immeasurable. Future generations would curse us for what we unleashed." Daeho felt the weight of the decision pressing down on him. Millions of humans were dying while he stood in this chamber debating philosophy, but Yunji was right about the consequences. Using the weapon would make humanity no better than the empires they were fighting against. "Is there a third option?" he asked. Yunji was quiet for a long moment, her blue eyes reflecting patterns of light that seemed to come from somewhere beyond normal space. When she finally spoke, her voice carried notes of wonder and terror. "There is one possibility. The Worldbreaker could be used to accelerate human evolution, to give our species the abilities needed to match the older galactic races. But the process would change what it means to be human forever." "What kind of changes?" "Enhanced intelligence, the ability to manipulate matter and energy directly, natural resistance to the vacuum of space. Humans would become something like the Veltar were before they built their ultimate weapon." "And the cost?" "The process would be irreversible. Humanity as it exists now would cease to exist. We would become something new. Something that might not even recognize the values and emotions that make us human now." Daeho looked at his small crew, the last free humans in a galaxy that wanted their species enslaved or extinct. Hana was young and brave with her whole life ahead of her. Jinwoo was a warrior who had never backed down from a fight no matter the odds, and Yunji had already sacrificed her humanity to give them this choice. "What do you think the Veltar would do?" he asked. "The Veltar chose extinction rather than evolution," Yunji replied. They were afraid of what they might become. And what do you think we should do? Yunji smiled, and for a moment she looked completely human again. I think we should do what humans have always done when faced with impossible choices. Which is? Find a fourth option that nobody else thought was possible. Before Daeho could ask what she meant, the station shook as the alien fleets launched their most desperate attack yet. Every ship in all three fleets was firing at once, pouring their combined energy into a single focused assault on Threnody Station. They're trying to crack the station's defenses through brute force, Jinwoo reported. Will it work? Daeho asked. Yunji checked her readings. Eventually. The station's shields are powerful, but they're 50,000 years old. They can't hold forever against this kind of sustained attack. How long do we have? 20 minutes, maybe 30. Daeho made his decision. As captain, the responsibility was his alone. But as he opened his mouth to give the order, Yunji held up her hand. Wait, she said. There's something else. Something the Veltar crystal showed me, but I didn't understand until now. What? The Worldbreaker isn't just a weapon. It's a test. The Veltar built it to determine if a species was ready for the next level of cosmic evolution. Those who choose destruction fail the test. Those who choose restraint pass it. And what happens to those who pass? Unji's eyes blazed with blue fire, and her voice carried harmonics from across time and space. They become something new, something that can guide other species toward wisdom instead of destruction. The station shook again as the alien assault intensified. Warning lights flashed, and the air filled with the sound of straining metal and overloaded systems. Captain, Hana called out. We're running out of time. Daeho looked at the Worldbreaker floating in space outside the station, the ultimate weapon waiting for his command. He could use it to save humanity by destroying their enemies. He could transform his species into something beyond human. Or he could find another way, a path that nobody had seen before. The choice that would determine the fate of the galaxy was his to make, and he had less than 30 minutes to make it. The universe held its breath and waited. The first wave of alien attacks struck Threnody Station like the anger of gods. The Corvani bioships fired living weapons that ate through metal and energy shields. The Ethereal Collective sent waves of crystal drones that phase-shifted through solid matter. The Hegemony's warships simply poured destruction from every weapon they had. But the ancient Veltar station was ready for them. The moment the attacks began, Yunji's connection to the station's systems deepened. Her blue eyes blazed with alien light as she became part of the network that had defended this place for 50,000 years. Defense systems coming online, she announced, though her voice now carried harmonics that no human throat could make. The station's surface erupted with weapons that bent the laws of physics. Gravity wells opened in space, crushing attacking ships into metal balls. Time itself slowed around other vessels, trapping them in moments that lasted forever. Some attackers simply ceased to exist, not destroyed but removed from reality entirely. What kind of weapons are these? Jinwoo asked, watching alien ships disappear from his scanner. The kind that made the Veltar afraid of themselves, Daeho answered. Admiral Vorthak's flagship fired a planet-killer weapon at the station, a beam of energy that could crack worlds. The beam struck the station's shields and simply stopped, frozen in space like a river turned to ice. Impossible, Vorthak roared over the communication channel. Nothing can stop that weapon. Prime Node 7's collective mind reached out to try to hack the station's computers. The artificial intelligence encountered Yunji's consciousness, merged with Veltar technology, and recoiled in shock. The human has become something else, Prime Node 7 reported to the other leaders. She is no longer entirely of this universe. Warmaster Skeeth ordered his entire fleet to focus fire on one section of the station. Hundreds of ships poured their energy into a single point, enough firepower to vaporize a continent. The station's hull glowed red-hot but held firm. This is not possible, Skeeth snarled. How can 4 humans control such power? Inside the station, Daeho was asking himself the same question. Yunji stood at the control platform, her body surrounded by holographic displays and energy patterns. She was still human in shape, but the way she moved and spoke was becoming more alien with each passing moment. Yunji, are you still you? He asked. She turned to look at him, and for a moment her eyes were completely blue, like looking into deep water. I am becoming something new, Captain. Part human, part Veltar, part something that has never existed before. Can you still stop this? Can you shut down the weapons? I could. But should I? She gestured to the displays showing the alien fleets. They came here with 10,000 ships to destroy us. They call us children, but they are the ones acting like angry children who cannot have a toy. Hana was monitoring communications from the alien fleets. Captain, I'm picking up arguments between the three empires. They're starting to blame each other for the attack's failure. On the main screen, they could see the alien fleets beginning to turn their weapons on each other. The temporary alliance was breaking down under the stress of repeated failure. The Corvani are saying the Ethereal's plan was flawed, Hana reported. The Ethereals are saying the Hegemony's ships are getting in the way. The Hegemony is calling both of them weak. Predictable, Yunji said, though her voice carried the weight of 50,000 years of Veltar wisdom. Fear makes people stupid, and they are very afraid right now. Jinwoo had been studying the weapon systems that Yunji was controlling. Captain, I'm seeing something in the data. The station's weapons aren't actually destroying the alien ships. What do you mean? Look at this. Jinwoo pulled up his scanner readings. The ships that disappeared aren't showing up as debris. They're showing up as somewhere else. Daeho studied the readings. They're being teleported? Moved outside the system, Yunji confirmed. The Veltar built these defenses to protect, not destroy. Even now, the station is trying to solve this problem without killing anyone. The Veltar were pacifists? No. They were scientists who understood the consequences of their actions. They knew that every choice creates ripples that spread through time and space. Yunji's hands moved over the controls and new displays appeared. But they also knew that sometimes you have to make hard choices. The displays showed images from throughout the galaxy. Human colonies were under attack by alien forces that had been left behind when the main fleets came to Threnody Station. Cities were burning and millions of humans were in danger. They're destroying our homes while keeping us busy here, Daeho realized. Admiral Kyung-soo is fighting them, Hana said, reading the incoming messages. But Earth's fleet is outnumbered 1,000 to 1. On the communication screen, the three alien leaders appeared again. This time they weren't standing together. Each was broadcasting from their own ship, their temporary alliance clearly over. Humans. Admiral Vorthak spoke first. Your tricks will not save you forever. Surrender now and we will make your deaths quick. Prime Node 7's crystal form flickered with angry light. The collective grows tired of this game. We will absorb your station and everything in it. War Master Skith roared louder than before. My warriors are destroying your colonies as we speak. Give us the weapon or watch your entire species burn. Daeho stepped forward. You want to talk? Then let's talk. But first, call off your attacks on our colonies. You are in no position to make demands, Vorthak replied, are we? Hyunji's voice cut through the conversation and the aliens fell silent. You have thrown your best weapons at this station for hours and we are still here. Your fleets are fighting each other more than they are fighting us. And now you threaten innocent civilians because you cannot defeat us in fair combat. There is no fairness in war. Skith growled. Then let me show you what unfairness really looks like. Yunji raised her hands, and every screen in the chamber filled with images of the world breaker. The massive ship began to move for the first time in 50,000 years. Rising from the heart of Threnody Station, the alien fleet stopped shooting at each other and stared in horror at the weapon that was emerging. The world breaker was even more terrifying in motion than it had been at rest. Space itself seemed to bend around it, and stars grew dim in its presence. That is the weapon you came here to claim, Yunji announced. The World Breaker. The ship that can unmake the universe itself. You cannot use it, Prime Node 7 said, but there was fear in its electronic voice. You are too young, too reckless, too human, Daeho asked. Yes, humans start wars over nothing. You fight each other over resources you have in plenty. You destroy your own planet's environment while living on it. All true, Daeho admitted. But we also do something you three empires have never learned to do. What? Vorthak demanded. We change, we grow. We learn from our mistakes. Daeho looked at his small crew, then at the alien fleet surrounding them. The Veltar built the ultimate weapon because they were afraid. You came here with 10,000 ships because you are afraid. But we are not here to take the weapon for ourselves. Then why are you here? Skith asked. Yunji answered, her voice now carrying the wisdom of both species. We are here to pass the test that the Veltar failed. We are here to prove that some things are more important than power. The World Breaker hung in space between the human station and the alien fleets waiting. It was the most powerful weapon ever built, capable of destroying not just planets or stars, but the basic forces that made existence possible, and for humans from a young species that most of the galaxy considered primitive, held the key to its power. The siege of Threnody Station had become something much larger than a battle for a weapon. It had become a test of wisdom, courage, and the ability to choose what was right over what was easy. The galaxy held its breath and waited to see what choice humanity would make. The Veltar home system was a place of death. As the Teguk's fury dropped out of hyperspace, Deho stared at what remained of a once great civilization. 5 planets orbited a dying red star, but they were nothing more than burned rocks now. Whatever had happened here, it had been thorough. My God, Hana whispered from her station. What did this? Yunji stood beside the captain, her blue-flecked eyes reflecting the red light of the star. They did it to themselves. The Veltar destroyed everything rather than let the Worldbreaker fall into the wrong hands. In the center of the system, a massive structure surrounded the dying star like a metal cage. It was huge, easily the size of Earth's moon. Made of materials that seemed to bend light around them, strange energy patterns danced across its surface. That's Threnody Station, Yunji said, though her voice sounded different now, older. The Veltar built it as the final resting place for their ultimate creation. Jinwoo was scanning the structure with every sensor they had. I'm picking up power readings from inside. Something big is still active in there. The Worldbreaker, Deho said. It wasn't really a question. As they flew closer to the station, details became clearer. The structure was covered in symbols and carvings that hurt to look at directly. They seemed to move and shift when nobody was watching them. There's a docking bay, Hana reported. It's opening for us. How does it know we're here? Jinwoo asked, his hand moving to his weapon controls. Yunji touched her temple where the blue light under her skin pulsed brighter. It knows I'm here. The crystal changed me, made me compatible with their technology. They guided their ship into the station's docking bay. The moment they landed, lights began coming on throughout the massive structure, as if it was waking up after 50,000 years of sleep. The air inside the station was breathable but felt heavy, like the atmosphere before a thunderstorm. Their footsteps echoed as they walked through corridors that were built for beings much taller than humans. The writing on the walls, Hana said, pointing to symbols that glowed softly. It's moving, Yunji nodded. It's reacting to my presence. The Veltar crystal didn't just give me information. It made me part of their network, their way of thinking. They followed the glowing symbols deeper into the station, past rooms filled with technology that defied explanation. Some chambers held what looked like stars trapped in crystal bottles. Others contained machines that seemed to exist in several dimensions at once. How powerful were these people? Jinwoo asked. Powerful enough to reshape reality, Yunji answered, but not wise enough to know when to stop. Finally, they reached the heart of the station. The corridor opened into a chamber so vast that its ceiling disappeared into darkness above them. And there, floating in the center of the space, was the Worldbreaker. It was beautiful and terrible at the same time. The ship was the size of a small moon, its hull made of the same reality-bending material as the station. It didn't look like it was built so much as grown, its surface flowing like liquid metal frozen in time. That's it? Hana asked. It doesn't look like a weapon. The most dangerous weapons never do, Yunji said, walking toward a control platform that rose from the chamber floor. The Worldbreaker doesn't destroy things by shooting them. It destroys the rules that make things possible in the first place. She placed her hands on the control platform, and the entire chamber filled with light. Holographic displays appeared in the air around them, showing star maps and equations that made Deho's head hurt to look at. I can see it all now, Yunji said, her eyes wide with wonder and horror. The Veltar thought they were creating the ultimate defensive weapon, something that could protect their people from any threat. What went wrong? Deho asked. They succeeded too well. The Worldbreaker can manipulate the basic forces that hold the universe together. Gravity, electromagnetism, the strong and weak nuclear forces. It can make them stronger, weaker, or turn them off entirely. Jinwoo was studying the weapon readings on his scanner. What would happen if someone used it? Imagine a star where gravity suddenly stops working, Yunji said quietly. Or a planet where the electromagnetic force that holds atoms together simply disappears. The effects would spread outward like ripples in a pond, unraveling reality as they went. The Veltar realized this, too late, by the time they understood what they had built. Other species were already trying to take it from them, so they made a choice. Yunji's hands moved over the controls and new images appeared showing the final days of the Veltar civilization. They turned their other weapons on themselves, destroyed their own planets, their own people, everything they had ever built, all to keep the world breaker from being used. And now we're here, Daiho said. Now we're here, Yunji agreed. And in a few hours so will be the three most powerful empires in the galaxy. As if summoned by her words, Hana's communicator crackled to life. Captain, I'm picking up multiple hyperspace signatures. Lots of them. They rushed to the nearest observation window and looked out at space. Ships were dropping out of hyperspace in massive waves. The Corvani bioships came first, their living hulls pulsing with alien life. The ethereal collective's crystal vessels followed, forming perfect geometric patterns. Finally, the hegemony's war fleets arrived, bristling with weapons. How many ships? Daiho asked. Over 10,000, Hana said, her voice barely a whisper. It's the largest fleet I've ever seen. Jinwoo was already running calculations. Captain, there's no way we can fight that many ships. We're not here to fight, Daiho said, though he wasn't sure he believed it himself. We're here to make sure that weapon doesn't fall into the wrong hands. Yunji was still connected to the Worldbreaker's systems, her consciousness partly merged with the ancient Veltar technology. The ship is functional. It's been waiting here for 50,000 years for someone worthy to claim it. And how does it decide who's worthy? Daiho asked. That's the test, Yunji said, turning to face him. Her eyes were now more blue than brown, and when she spoke it was with the combined voices of humanity and the long-dead Veltar. The ship requires a living navigator, someone bonded with Veltar technology, but using it changes you, makes you less human and more something else. Daiho understood. You're the key, I'm the key, but Captain, you need to understand what that means. If I fully bond with the Worldbreaker, I won't be Yunji anymore. I'll be something new, something that thinks in ways humans can't understand. Outside, the alien fleets were forming battle lines around Threnody Station. Three empires that had never worked together were united in their determination to prevent humanity from claiming the ultimate weapon. Incoming transmission, Hana reported. The three alien leaders appeared on their communicator screen, standing side by side for the first time in galactic history. Admiral Vorthak, Prime Node 7, and War Master Skith had put aside their differences to face the human threat. Humans, Admiral Vorthak spoke first. You have gone too far. The weapon you seek to claim could destroy the galaxy. We offer you one final chance, Prime Node 7 added, its crystal form shimmering. Surrender now and we will allow your species to survive as servants, War Master Skith roared. Or stay and die with your precious weapon. We will not let children play with the tools of gods. The transmission ended and alarms began blaring throughout Threnody Station. The alien fleets were powering up their weapons. Daiho looked at his small crew, then at the massive weapon floating in the chamber's center. Yunji, if you bond with that ship, what happens to the galaxy? That depends on what we choose to do with it, she said. The Veltar faced the same choice we do now. They chose destruction rather than risk the weapon being misused. And what do you think we should do? Yunji was quiet for a long moment, her blue eyes reflecting the light of the Worldbreaker. I think, Captain, that we're about to find out if humanity is worthy of the power to reshape the universe. Outside, 10,000 alien warships prepared to attack, determined to prevent the human race from claiming the weapon that could end all existence. Inside Threnody Station, 4 humans stood before the choice that would determine the fate of the galaxy. The test was about to begin. 3 days after leaving the dead Veltar ship, the Taeguk's Fury arrived at Earth to find chaos. Admiral Kyung-soo met them at the space station above the planet, his face grim with worry. Captain Daiho, we have a situation, the Admiral said as they walked through the station's corridors. 3 alien empires have sent messages to Earth. They all want the same thing. The crystal's information, Daiho guessed. Exactly. They're calling it the Veltar Legacy. Each empire claims they have the right to it. Kyung-soo stopped at a window overlooking Earth. They've given us 1 week to hand it over. Daiho joined him at the window. Below them, Earth looked peaceful and blue, but he knew that wouldn't last long. What do we know about these empires? The first is the Corvani Empire. Their leader, Admiral Vorthak, commands fleets of ships that are part machine, part living creature. They're old, powerful, and they think all younger races should serve them. Kyung-soo pulled up a hologram showing a massive alien vessel. It looked like a cross between a spaceship and a giant insect, with weapons that pulsed like beating hearts. The second empire is called the Ethereal Collective. They're a hive mind led by something called Prime Node 7. They want to absorb all advanced technology into their collective consciousness. The next hologram showed ships that seemed to be made of crystal and light. They were beautiful but cold, with no windows or signs that individual creatures lived inside them. The third empire is the Hegemony of Scales. Warmaster Skith leads them. They're warriors who believe that strength gives them the right to rule over everyone else. These ships looked like flying fortresses, covered in armor and bristling with weapons. They were built for war and nothing else. What did you tell them? Daeho asked. Nothing yet, but they're not going to wait much longer. Kyung-soo turned away from the window. Captain, what exactly did your engineer find out there? Daeho thought about Yunji, who was now in the medical bay being examined by Earth's best doctors. The blue flecks in her eyes had grown brighter, and sometimes she spoke in a language that no human had ever heard before. She found the location of something called the World Breaker. It's a Veltar weapon ship that can destroy the basic forces that hold the universe together. Kyung-soo was quiet for a long moment. And the aliens know about this? They seem to. Hana intercepted some of their communications. They call it the final silence. They're more afraid of it than anything else in the galaxy. Afraid enough to attack Earth? Before Daeho could answer, alarms started blaring throughout the station. A young officer ran up to them. Sir, we have multiple hyperspace signatures. Big ones. They rushed to the command center, where the main screen showed space around Earth. 3 massive fleets were arriving, each one larger than anything humanity had ever built. The Corvani fleet came first, their biomechanical ships sliding out of hyperspace like living nightmares. Admiral Vorthak's flagship was the size of a city, covered in armor that moved and shifted like skin. The Ethereal Collective appeared next, their crystal ships forming perfect geometric patterns. They moved together like parts of a single mind, which Daeho supposed they were. Last came the Hegemony of Scales, their warships dropping into normal space with weapons already charging. Warmaster Siskith's vessel was a flying fortress that bristled with enough firepower to crack a planet. Incoming transmission, an officer reported. All 3 fleets are broadcasting. Put them on screen, Kyung-soo ordered. The screen split into 3 parts. Admiral Vorthak appeared first, his form hidden inside biomechanical armor that pulsed with alien life. When he spoke, his voice sounded like metal grinding against stone. Humans of Earth, you have taken something that does not belong to you. The Veltar legacy must be surrendered to its rightful guardians. Prime Node 7 appeared next, a shifting form made of light and crystal. Its voice came from everywhere at once like the sound of wind through a forest. The knowledge you possess belongs to the collective. We will integrate it properly. Resistance is pointless. Finally, Warmaster Skith filled his part of the screen. He was huge, covered in scales that looked like natural armor. His eyes burned with red fire and his voice was a roar. Weak humans, you are children playing with weapons you cannot understand. Give us what we want or we will take it from your broken bodies. Admiral Kyung-soo stepped forward. I am Admiral Kyung-soo of the Earth Defense Force. The knowledge you speak of was discovered by human explorers in space that belongs to no empire. We will not surrender it. All 3 alien leaders began speaking at once, their voices overlapping in threats and demands. Kyung-soo cut the transmission. Well, he said calmly, I think that went well. Sir, what are our options? An officer asked. Kyung-soo looked at the 3 fleets surrounding Earth. Each one could destroy human civilization by itself. Together they were unstoppable. Captain Daeho, I'm giving you new orders. Take your ship and find this world breaker before they do. Sir, that's suicide. Look at those fleets. Maybe. But if we don't try, humanity is finished anyway. At least this way we have a chance. Daeho nodded slowly. He had known this moment would come. What about Earth? Earth can take care of itself for a while. Those 3 empires hate each other as much as they want our knowledge. They won't work together easily. As if to prove his point, the alien fleets began moving into positions that blocked each other's lines of fire. None of them trusted the others. Jinwoo and Hana are already preparing the ship, Daeho said. But what about Yunji? She's the only one who knows where the world breaker is. The doctors say she's stable. Strange, but stable. The Veltar crystal changed her, but she's still human where it counts. An hour later, the Tuguk's fury slipped away from Earth while the three alien fleets argued over who had the right to search the planet first. Hana had found a small gap in their sensor coverage, and they escaped into hyperspace just as the aliens noticed they were gone. In the medical bay, Yunji sat up in her bed, her blue-flecked eyes staring at nothing. "They're following us," she said quietly. "Who?" Daeho asked. "All of them. They have ships that can track hyperspace trails. We have maybe a day before they catch up." Jinwoo checked his weapon systems. "Can we fight them?" Yunji smiled, but it wasn't entirely her smile anymore. There was something alien in it, something old and sad. "Captain, we're not running to fight them. We're running to prevent something much worse. The World Breaker?" The World Breaker was the Veltar's final test. They built it to see if they were worthy of ultimate power. When they realized they weren't, they chose to destroy themselves rather than use it. Daeho felt a chill run down his spine. "And now we have to make the same choice." "Not just us," Yunji said, looking out at the stars rushing past. "All of us. The entire galaxy is about to learn what the Veltar learned 50,000 years ago. Some powers are too great for anyone to wield." Behind them, 3 fleets of alien warships were already in pursuit, their sensors locked on the human ship's trail. Ahead lay the dead system where the Worldbreaker waited, sleeping in the ruins of a civilization that had chosen extinction over damnation. The race for the ultimate weapon had begun, and the future of the universe hung in the balance. Captain Daeho stood on the bridge of the Taeguk's Fury, watching the stars drift past through the main window. His ship was different from other human vessels. It was built using alien technology that Earth scientists had found and studied. The metal walls hummed with strange energy, and the computers worked faster than anything humans had made before. "Captain, we're getting something weird on our sensors," said Hana from her station. She was young but good at her job. Her fingers moved quickly over the control panel as she tried to make sense of what she was seeing. Daeho walked over to look at her screen. "What kind of weird?" "There's a big object out there. It's not moving, just floating in space. It's huge, maybe the size of a city." Hana looked worried. "Sir, it's not like anything in our databases." The captain thought for a moment. They were far from Earth, exploring space that no human had ever seen before. Finding strange things was part of their job, but this felt different. "Jinwoo, can our weapons handle whatever that is?" Jinwoo looked up from his weapons controls. He was a big man with quick hands and a serious face. "If it's dead in the water, we should be fine. But if it wakes up," he shrugged. "Yunji, what do you think?" Daeho asked his chief engineer. She was the smartest person on the ship, and she understood the alien technology better than anyone. Yunji was already studying the readings on her tablet. "It's old, Captain. Really old. The metal is nothing like what we've seen before. It's been out there for thousands of years, maybe more." Daeho made his decision. "Take us closer. But keep our shields up and weapons ready." As they got nearer, the object became clearer. It was a spaceship, but not like any ship humans had ever built. It was long and curved, with strange symbols carved into its dark hull. Parts of it were broken, with holes where something had torn through the metal. "Life signs?" Daeho asked. "Nothing," Hana replied. "It's completely dead." The captain studied the alien ship. Something about it made him feel uneasy, but he couldn't say what. "We're going aboard. Jinwoo, grab your gear. Yunji, bring your scanners. Hana, you stay here and watch for trouble." 30 minutes later, Daeho, Jinwoo, and Yunji floated through space in their suits, moving toward a large hole in the alien ship's side. Their lights cut through the darkness as they entered. Inside, the ship was like a tomb. The corridors were wide and tall, built for creatures much larger than humans. Strange writing covered the walls, and the air was thick with dust that had been floating there for ages. "This place gives me the creeps," Jinwoo muttered, keeping his rifle ready. Yunji was scanning everything with her equipment. "The technology here is incredible. Look at these power conduits. They're still working after all this time." They moved deeper into the ship, following Yunji's readings toward what seemed to be the main control room. When they found it, Daeho whistled softly. The room was enormous, with a ceiling that disappeared into shadows above them. In the center of the room stood a tall crystal, taller than a person and glowing with soft blue light. It pulsed like a heartbeat, and strange symbols moved through its surface like living things. "What is that?" Jinwoo asked, staying back. Yunji moved closer, her scanner beeping rapidly. "It's some kind of computer, but also something else. The energy readings are off the charts." "Don't touch it," Daeho warned. but Unji was already reaching out. "It's beautiful," she said, and her gloved hand touched the crystal's surface. The moment her fingers made contact, the crystal flared with brilliant light. Hyunji screamed and fell to her knees. Jinwoo started toward her, but Daeho grabbed his arm. "Wait," the captain said. The light faded and Yunji slowly stood up. But something had changed. Her eyes now had flecks of blue light in them, and when she spoke, her voice sounded different. "I know what this is," she said quietly. "I know who built this ship. Yunji, are you okay?" Daeho asked. She turned to look at him, and he saw that she was crying. "They called themselves the Veltar. They ruled a huge part of the galaxy 50,000 years ago. They were builders, explorers, scientists. What happened to them?" Jinwoo asked. "They built something terrible," Yunji said. "A weapon so powerful it could destroy the basic laws that hold the universe together. But they were afraid of what they had made." The crystal pulsed brighter, and more information flowed into Yunji's mind. She gasped and grabbed Daeho's arm. "Captain, the weapon still exists. It's hidden in their home system. It's a ship called the Worldbreaker." "A ship?" Daeho frowned. "Not just any ship. One that can tear holes in space itself. One that can make stars explode or planets disappear." Yunji's grip tightened. "The Veltar destroyed their entire civilization rather than let anyone use it." Jinwoo looked around the dead ship. "Smart of them." "The crystal has given me the location," Yunji continued. "It's still there, waiting." Before Daeho could respond, Hana's voice crackled through their communicators. "Captain, we have a problem. I'm picking up multiple fleets heading this way. Big ones." Daeho felt his stomach drop. "How big?" 3 different groups, sir. None of them are human, and they're all coming fast." The captain looked at his team, then at the glowing crystal. "Can we move that thing?" Unji shook her head. "It's part of the ship now. But the information is in here," she touched her temple. "In my head. Then we leave. Now." Daeho headed for the exit. As they hurried back through the corridors, Jinwoo asked the question they were all thinking. "How did they know we were here?" "The crystal," Yunji said. "When it activated, it sent out a signal. The whole galaxy probably felt it. They reached their ship just as the first alien vessels appeared on their sensors." Daeho didn't wait to see what they wanted. "Hana, get us out of here. Maximum speed." As the Tegak's Fury jumped away from the dead system, Daeho watched the alien fleets converge on the Veltar ship. 3 different groups, all drawn by the same signal. "Sir," Hana said quietly, "I think we're in trouble. Those aliens, I've seen ships like those in our databases. They're from the 3 biggest empires in the galaxy." Daeho nodded grimly. "Set course for Earth and send a message to Admiral Kyung-soo. Tell him we found something that's going to change everything." Behind them, the alien fleet surrounded the ancient Veltar ship, searching for answers that were no longer there. The real prize was already racing toward human space, carried in the mind of a young engineer who was no longer entirely human. The discovery that would shake the galaxy had been made. Now the real danger was just beginning.